few things happened since I last saw you. One guy got shot.
Yeah, some guy.
And the guy who shot him, his body vanished.
Yeah.
No.
Now, did he get shot? Because I've seen a lot of people talk about this. Like, no, he didn't get shot.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
Like, do you think that he cut his ear like a pro wrestler?
Yeah.
I got shot.
Yeah.
Like it's all fake. The guy behind him who got murdered. That wasn't real.
I saw that. Again, you would think that would be a clue.
Military career, because there's some issues there.
Yeah.
That people have. I don't know if he flat out ever said that he served in Afghanistan, but he certainly didn't dissuade people from saying that he was. When they were saying he didn't correct them,
right?
There was things
he didn't, and he didn't. And you can look at interviews, and there's no pushback. There's no like, excuse me, I didn't go to Iraq, right?
Exactly.
And I retired, as my unit was deploying. And so
we retired a couple months before.
A couple months before,
right?
Yes,
what is the whole story?
But those guys know
it?
they know that they're going, right. It's not like they suddenly get a paper, on one day. There's a build up to that, and they're aware of it. And so, even his personnel were saying, look, we all knew we were going. He knew he was going. No, okay, fine. He made the decision, right? But I think with his what do you want to call it, padding of his resume for political purposes, obviously, when he was running for Congress.
Well, there's more than one thing too, right? He said he was a head coach.
Yeah, he was a head coach. He was
not a head coach. He was an assistant coach, which is an honorable thing. There's nothing wrong with being an assistant coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he also inflated his actual rank, right? He was slated to achieve a certain rank.
Right.
And how did it go? Like he had to commit to the fact that he wasn't going to retire in order to achieve this rank? Is that what it was?
He didn't finish essentially the program, the coursework, for a command sergeant major.
Can you explain how that works?
Well, I mean, he had the rank, right? He was awarded. I think he had gone to, where did he go? I think he went to Italy on an assignment. Look, he's in the National Guard, right? So, first of all, there was sort of this, I've served for 24 years. Or he's not really saying that. His supporters and the people on the Democratic side say, well, he served for 24 years. Yes, he did, okay? But it's the National Guard. And that doesn't mean, I'm not disrespecting at all anyone who serves in the National Guard. It's a very honorable thing to do. I'm just saying they're kind of conflating, just like he did with his rank or these other things, the idea that somehow he was
over there for
full-time, 24 years in the military. And he was working as a school teacher, as you pointed out, he was working as a coach. Look, the guy could be who knows? He could be a great guy. I'm just saying that there were statistics that said upwards of 70+% of people have padded their CVs. So what he's done isn't unusual, but it's very much highlighted now. It's like
70%.
Yeah. It's a and look, I've got a service line in the company, Portman Square Group. I am a marketing machine.
Good job.
Thank you. And but we have a due diligence group that does nothing but background investigations, due diligence, and so they spend a lot of time looking at people's CVs or resumes, and it's a shocking number of people. And sometimes it's not really nefarious. It's just maybe I misspoke, or maybe I did put something in, and I over-egged the pudding a little bit, but then like 10 or 15 years down the road, you've kind of ridden on that for all that time. And we've seen that happen where people suddenly get called out, right?
Yes.
And so, I don't read too much into the fact that he padded his resume. I think it is just very disrespectful that he didn't push back on the idea that he was overseas deployed in combat, or that he claimed that he retired in a position. I think they gave him a master sergeant title or rank when he retired, which is just one step below.
Which is still honorable.
Very honorable.
And it's nothing to be shameful of. Like saying that, just stating the actual rank, it doesn't change anybody's opinion of him at all.
Yeah. So, again,
so it's a lie that doesn't really.
I tell you what, actually, what I would love to have them ask first is, okay, Vice President, I guess you have to say Madam Vice President, how long were you aware of President Biden's mental decline?
Yes.
Because right up until the last minute, you were talking about how sharp his attack he was, and how vigorous he was, and how he was, better than men half his age. And what I don't understand is how people aren't marching on Washington with pitchforks and torches over the fact that this small group, her and who else? Anita Dunn, the chief of staff over at the White House, Klain, a variety of that cabal's not that big, of people who had daily contact with President Biden, and they just lied to the American public for a significantly long time. They just deceived the American public, and nobody seems to give a shit. Right.
Well, it's also, why was anyone believing it?
Right.
That's what was crazy. And we were getting shit on left and right during the campaign, where I was like, when I compared him, I said, Biden being president is like having a flashlight with a bad battery and going for a long walk in the woods. There's no fucking way.
Banging on it,
not
it's not
gonna
working.
make it. And people were saying, no, don't you know he stutters? And they were saying all the, well, there's no evidence of him stuttering when he was younger. This is crazy. There's a mental decline there. There's nothing wrong with mental decline. We're all going to experience it someday, kids. But to say that it's not happening just because you don't want the other side to win is bananas.
Yeah, well, and
really
that's what
crazy.
it was. Anytime you called it out, because we all saw it, like you said, we're all heading in that direction. It's probably the one thing we all have in common. And we all know what it looks like. Everyone's got aging parents or aging grandparents.
Yes.
And so we knew it intuitively, right? Every time you saw him and he made a slip up or he faltered or he just kind of started staring off into space or he moved the way that he was moving, like you've seen your grandpa move, we knew it. But if you dared bring it up, you were just kicked in the ass, right? And suddenly somehow you were ageist and you were hyper partisan and you were just and you were MAGA and you were
the epitome of gaslighting. Gaslighting to the extreme because it was so obvious and in your face. It's like, no, it's not raining out. Like what? It's fucking pouring. Like what are you talking about? Full gaslighting right in front of your face.
Yeah, and so that I would love that to be the very first question. Can you explain to us at what point in time you actually became aware that he was in significant mental decline, right? And again, I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for anybody who's in that position. Right?
Sure.
But he's the fucking commander-in-chief, right? He's the leader of the free world. So I think we have a right to it. The government is going to, tell you what's good and what's not to read is amazing, right? They just arrested the Telegram CEO over in Europe.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that, too.
Yeah.
So it seems like they wanted access to Telegram's messages because there were certain people that were posting things that had been a part of there was a terrorist attack in Russia that they tried to get him to give up information about, but then they gave up on that and they left him alone. But now in France, they've arrested him. Yeah,
they picked him up 3 days ago, I think 4 days ago.
And unfortunately, he's got this social media girlfriend who posts pictures everywhere she goes, so they can fucking find him everywhere. Yeah. Telegram CEO released from custody in Paris. Okay, great.
Yeah. They extended his detention for 48 hours, and then they had to make a decision. I think it was by today as to what to do with him.
Judge had until Wednesday morning to either charge him or release him, so they released him. Okay. Well, I think the outrage of the world. Okay, so this is said, dual citizen of France and Russia was taken into custody Saturday. He was detained on an arrest warrant over accusations the platform was used for money laundering, drug trafficking, and other offenses. Guess what? You can say that about Gmail.
Yeah.
Should we arrest Google?
Yeah.
Because Gmail is used for money laundering and drug sales? Because it certainly is.
Yeah, and I think, well, look, honestly, I think there's some people in the States that if they thought they could get away with it, they would. That's what they would be pushing for. But with this, with Pavel Durov, I think they were really upset with a couple of things. One is that Telegram has a history of not cooperating with criminal investigations, right? Not releasing information or complying with requests from whomever it may be, right? Europol, Interpol, anyone. And so they basically figured out a way to say, look, because of your inability or your failure to moderate the content on your platform, on Telegram, we're going to criminally charge you, perhaps, right? Now, I suspect that's what they're going to do with this, but I think you're right. I think the outrage said, okay, well, let's let him go for now. But he's not. Look, he got sideways with Putin, so he's a dual citizen of
Russia and France.
No, France and United Arab Emirates.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And although the Russians, Putin regime was very funny when he got arrested, they were outraged over the fact that they viewed this as a limit on free speech.
That's cute.
The Putin regime. Yeah. Oh my God, because you know how much they value civil liberties and shit.
Especially dissenting opinions.
Yeah, they love. There's nothing better. Yeah.
It's all about free expression over there in Russia.
But
is it normal for there to be an assassination attempt and then no press conference?
It is. Because we don't have assassination attempts every week, it's kind of hard to say that is it normal.
But if there's a major world event,
right.
Generally, don't they have press conferences?
Yes, and it was look, the whole thing, the protocols that weren't followed, the process, the fact that it was a cock-up of monumental proportions leading up to Thomas Crooks taking those shots. And then the afterwards, right? Then the way that they handled it was another series of, still to this day, this series of mistakes that there is no justification for it. You can't, look, doing security at an event like the Butler rally back in July where Trump was shot. Right now, there's people out there going, I don't think he was shot. I'm pretty sure he wasn't. So I think it's not rocket science, right? It's very labor-intensive and detail-oriented. But it's not. You're not building a spaceship, right? You're going through the same process that you go through every time you have one of these events, right? And so you have a political rally like that, and it's not a national security event. So it's not the DNC, it's not the RNC, it's not the Super Bowl, it's not the Olympics. Those are national security events. You have a year plus to plan and prepare, get all your resources together, and figure out your game plan, your site surveys, all the rest of it. You still have time with these political events. Don't have a year, but you've got sufficient time. And they do it over and over again. And it's not tough. So you do a site survey and you say, okay, he's going to show up at Butler. Let's get out there. And the Secret Service has primacy. They work with local, state resources if they need to heavy up the security and they don't have the available resources. But they have the primacy. So they go out and the site survey, that whole process, the risk threat assessment and the survey is where you identify your timelines and your resources and your deployment of resources and all the various things, your command and control center, your communications protocols, all those things. But it's over and over and over again. It's there's a methodology to it. And the Secret Service, they do this all the time. So it does lead you to wonder how many more events in the past have they been, not buttoned up and they just got lucky because there wasn't a shooter. But there's no way to excuse what happened because it was such a breakdown of events. And then afterwards, in the hot wash and in the briefings that they did provide and going up on Capitol Hill, and Kimberly Cheadle, the now departed director, it was a classic lesson in how not to do crisis communications. And she should have been, the director who's now gone, she should have been out on the rally grounds that evening, and with a team and with the agent in charge, and it should have been very clear to the press all around that they were out there doing the investigation, assessing what had happened, and people would be responsible, and they would talk. But none of that happened. It was just a fucking goat rope. So
it's because it's Trump. If it was anybody else,
yeah,
like if that had happened, if